city. So I personally, since I pay for the water, just like anybody else has a water bill, you know, I want the best for my city. So I will work closely with the city council to be able to make the best decision for our city.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stewart?
We are being mandated, or that's a fancy word, we're being told to get our water out of the Brazos River. By 2015, I think we have to get 30% of it, and then 2025, another, I think, 60% or whatever. Yes, we are working with Richmond, and we're going to spend a lot of money. We're going to get some property, put up a big, huge water treatment plant to get the water and disperse it out. But we're also going to change and go a couple other ways, and we have a committee that is working strongly to find other avenues. We also implemented a couple of 2-3 years back, a slight increase every year into our water bill. So when this does come into action, so we won't be hit with a water bill being 10 times more than what it is now. So we're going to gradually increase it so we can get to a certain point, so we can have the money in there to get the water, get it out to our citizens at a costlier price, but not all at one shot. And I think the committee that we have working on that, it's a strong committee. They're going to find us other avenues, and the city council, along with our staff, we will pursue other avenues to try and get water as cheap as we can and get to our citizens where it doesn't impact them. And it's like gas. You put all your money in your gas tank. We want to put all our money into our water bill. So we will find other avenues.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hawkins?
I have to say, honestly, I don't know. The surface water conversion area is something that requires a specialized knowledge that not a lot of people have. I know that water is a valuable commodity that comes back up we all need. And I think if I do get on council, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to study, but as far as me offering innovative solutions at this point, I don't have them.
Thank you. Mr. Gruger?
I serve on the Richmond-Rosenberg Local Government Corporation that was formed by both entities, Richmond and Rosenberg, to lead the pack in a surface water plant and spending those monies to build that. We've heard Judge Hebert say that water is going to be null, in existence basically for us. We have to work with the Brazos River Authority and all of the entities within Fort Bend County, which means all the cities, and come up with some solution, and maybe even partner with City of Houston that owns the Allens Creek Reservoir out near Sealy, to where we could build that and have our water there. Of course, we need to really strongly talk with Brazos River Authority, since they do have the water rights in the Brazos River, and building reservoirs along there if need be, but that's an expensive price also.
Thank you. Councilman Suter?
I originally served on that committee and was replaced on it. I think some of the innovative things that we need to do is, one thing we're pushing for is another evaluation. The original evaluation that set our timeline did not have what we felt was accurate information on our land loss and the need for surface water conversion, although we are mandated by the state to meet those needs. I think public education is very, very important. I think that we need to review other cities around here, Missouri City, and the way they process the water, Stafford, the way they process the water. I think we need to keep the cost to our citizens low compared to the ETJ and others outside of the city, so they may end up having to pay a little bit more since it's coming out of our pocket, so to speak. Currently, we are asking for that additional review, and I think that's where we need to go with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Salazar?
The water surface problem is very complicated, and it's going to take, I know we have the Richmond Rosenberg local government corporation that is basically helping us figure out how we're going to go and get the water. Part of the water is that we're going to have to do conservation, and because it's going to get as expensive as oil or more. Last week I attended, I was invited by the county through the Agri-Life Extension to Texas A&M about river water harvesting, which is going to be something probably that I know Richmond is attempting to do. I think at the new city hall they're going to go ahead and try to do that. That might be the model for us in Rosenberg to see how it works out. I said that was very informative. Basically, just the water or aquifers are disappearing. So even if you have a source, I mean the Brazos River Authority, there is no guarantee that we, or they're going to, look at the water. I mean the river right now, you can walk through it. So we're going to have to do conservation, different models, and that's how hopefully we can take care of the problem.
Thank you, sir. Our next question will go to, beginning with the candidates at large in two, then followed by one, and the mayoral candidates. The question is, if the issue of zoning were to resurface again, would you support or vote against it, and why? I'd like to begin that question with Mr. Zepeda.
Zoning. Well, I tell you, there's so many problems, and just off the top of my head, I can tell you about Greenwood subdivision. If somebody rides through there about 9 o'clock in the evening and has an emergency there, a fire of some sort, they're not able to get in there and put out the fire because there's so many vehicles out in the street. There's boats, RVs, sitting in the driveway, tractor trailers. They have to park in their lawn. Zoning, I'm all for zoning, I really am. I think that zoning would make a big difference in Roosevelt. But it's going to be a very, very touchy situation when it comes to zoning. We've tried it before, and we never voted it in, so we tried it twice. But I think we do need some change in some of these areas in Roosevelt.
Thank you, sir. Cowboy Bill.
The last time I ran for office, I was supportive of zoning. In my travels in New York, Philadelphia, Arizona, San Francisco, Miami, and even in Houston, I saw how senior citizens lost the property values because anybody and everything was able to move in. We're not talking about how you're going to paint your house, how you're going to design it. What we're talking about, not government control. Because I don't believe in government control. I believe in government intervention for the betterment of the community. If zoning is put forward correctly, it will save the seniors, who people keep on forgetting that, we made this country as a veteran of the United States Navy, and the only one up here, during seeing what happened. We need to save the property values of the seniors. We need to save their investments, because as it is, they're being taxed out of their home, and without zoning, they're going to lose it. Zoning is something that can be beneficial for everybody, whether it's a small business, mom and pop, big business, or even the homeowners. But save your senior citizens' investments. That's the foundation of this country, mom and pops.
Thank you, sir. Candidate, comment.
If the issue of zoning were to resurface again, I would not support it. I didn't support it 2 years ago, or in 2008 when it came through. And the primary reason that I didn't support zoning was because it wasn't appropriately crafted. It was very vague, very general. We even did studies of Philadelphia's candidate, Cowboy Bill, raised the issue. Their zoning document was 4 inches thick. and they were looking to reduce it and go back to the basics. I think zoning will eventually come, but I think when it does come, it needs to be carefully evaluated. It needs to be carefully analyzed for the betterment of all citizens. I don't want a wastewater plant next door to my home either, but there are state statutes that regulate businesses like that, and there are laws that govern certain businesses to keep them from locating into residential areas. So I would not vote for zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Candidate Herbst?
Zoning, that's one of my old favorite topics. I argued against it in this room the third time it was tried in Rosenberg. And zoning is not about keeping people from parking in their front yards, and it's not about tall grass. It's about control of people's property. People pay taxes. The control is theirs. The problem with zoning is that somebody always wants to get one up on someone else. That's where the graft and corruption come into it. Land control and zoning and organized crime, all these things go hand in hand. If you go to any city that has zoning and look what city council does, they're working on variances. Even cities like Sugar Land, with 10,000 acres, a perfect place for zoning. We can make it work. Yet, they're having variance requests all the time. The big guys have lawyers, architects, they have all kinds of consultants, and they come in and get it, but the little guy doesn't. Our country was based on property rights. Houston does not have zoning. They've gone through many fights to get it. City of Rosenberg does not need zoning. I would vigorously fight against it like I did the last time. If you want zoning in Rosenberg, you probably don't want to vote for me because I'll never support it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Cliff?
I am for zoning. I think if it's educated out to the citizens, I think they would be more receptive to vote for it this time. I think last time it was a lot of negative correspondence going out on what they would do if zoning was passed, and it's not true. I think it would be if we pass zoning, it would be better for Rosenberg.
Thank you. Mr. Bennett?
Well, first of all, I'm in favor of protecting our neighborhoods the best way we can. I would prefer to do it without zoning, but if it takes properly planned, like as Cynthia said, properly planned zoning, I would consider that. Zoning is a group of ordinances, so to put us on the spot and say, would you or would you not support zoning? I mean, it would depend what the ordinances say. So I can't, I'm not going to sit here and commit one way or the other to zoning.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Houghton?
I am against zoning the way it has been crafted in the past. The property owners have the right to use the property the way that they want to. We do have ordinances to protect the property owners that surround also, to keep the junk down and keep the neighborhood right. If we would enforce the ordinances that we have, we would not need the zoning ordinances. To zone a city that's 100 years old would stifle what's already been done in little neighborhoods. It would be unfair to those who have invested in what was the edge of town and now has grown up. The areas that are growing, that are on the edge of town, that don't have any development, now that might be an area that we could zone and keep it commercial or whatever. The problem is, as Cynthia and some others have said, the subjectivity as with how the law is crafted and how it is applied. I would not support zoning.
Thank you. Mr. Morales?
I voted for zoning, but the voters spoke. They said no, and we need to respect their decision at this time until they decide further. But it'll be totally up to you as voters.